It's a recording.
Now we're on.
All right, we're on. So, hello guys. Welcome to Topeka Insiders episode number 3. Today I have the honor of having John Cantrell on the show. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation.
Thank you for having me.
It's been an honor. Thank you so much for coming all the way here. So, John, he's a father to a miracle son, husband to a superhero wife, a business owner, a pro fighter, and a jail pastor. He fights for our city of Topeka, his family, and most importantly, shine lines and glory on God.
Amen. That's right.
Great angel, John. Great angel.
Thank you, brother.
So all yours. Tell us a little bit more about what have you been up to?
I have been training. Damon Reed. Are you familiar with Damon?
I've met him a couple times. He's the owner of
He was.
Okay.
Yeah, Vikings.
I used to go there all the time, every other week. Every week for
Dude,
a
the smothered chicken is the best. It's one of the best things. It's still good. The new owner has it, man.
That's what I had all the time.
It's
just crazy. John just showed up like we're talking about all these things. This is awesome.
So I'm basically Damon's job now. Now he helps his cousin Troy out at the Pad, which the Pad is also one of my favorite restaurants. I go there to eat the salad bar all the time. Like Troy takes such good care of me and Gina and everybody at the Pad. It's a fantastic place. They're also one of my sponsors. But he works there a couple hours a week, but I'm basically Damon's full-time job now.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, John, before we got on air, we're just talking about sponsorship. We're talking about City Topeka behind your back, all that stuff. Why don't we start there? You know, because how I kind of got to know John was through some mutual friends, and seems like the entire city of Topeka is behind you.
Man, it's incredible. You'd be surprised, Chin. Like it really is incredible the amount of support I get from a lot of people. But you'd also be surprised in the people that don't want to show up or that won't come to the fights. Like I don't want to. I'm not gonna get into it too much. But there's been a couple places I've stopped in, and it's like you've got a local guy, right? A Topekan, a Kansan,
right?
That's been invited to fight on Showtime,
right? In
Topeka, Kansas. Topeka's never had a fight this big. There's never been a show like this. I mean, Holmes and Villarreal, like these guys are champions. Like the guys that you're looking at are big time, man. These are champion fighters. You're not unless Showtime or ESPN or somebody like that comes back, dude, you're probably not going to see that level of fight. Or Triller, Triller has that level. Mm-hmm. But man, we've never had that level of fight here.
Right.
And I'm not saying anything, I promote with Midwest Combat and we throw great shows, man, and we bring in great fighters. But as far as like that level, you're not going to see it. And, you would think that everybody in the city would want to come and support. Right. You really would, man. And dude, I have a tremendous amount of support, and like, man, the city always shows up for my fights, but like so I no longer work at Ernest Spencer Metals, man. That's been my job forever. Neil Spencer hired me like literally fresh out of the feds. Like when I started working there, I still had an ankle monitor on, bro, a GPS monitor.
We'll get into that here in a little bit, though. John is a very awesome guy. He's going to share some amazing stories.
Nah, bro, I'm lucky.
Inspirational.
I'm lucky, and I've had a graceful life since I gave my life to Christ, and God has blessed me since then. But it's all Him. It's not me at all.
That's very humble, John, to say that. I mean, it's just like, because I want this platform to enable people to share whatever thoughts, beliefs, whatever they want, to inspire other people, like-minded people. So get right into it. So Topeka is behind you, right? You're wishing more and more people would kind of join.
Yeah. So and you know what? It's not even about me, and it's not even about boxing. It's about bringing things to our city and showing, like, when we have something, show up. My friend Trevor Burdett and his partners just bought the Topeka Tropics. It's an indoor football team, right?
Okay, yeah. Like, that's awesome. That's
guys,
huge.
I implore you, when people are trying to start stuff like this in the city, when like him and Josh and Chad and what they're doing, man, when people are trying to do stuff like this in our city, like if we want cool stuff here, we have to show up to support them.
Right.
When we have stuff at the Stormont Valley Event Center, like Kellen Seitz, he's the GM there. Dude, he's been doing huge things. And his team they've been doing huge things there, trying to bring in these big shows and big artists and big venues and big events to bring it out. But like, we have, as a city, if we want stuff like that to go do, we have to show up and go do it. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
This is awesome, John. And because what I'm me feeling personally 2 years ago versus like now I'm feeling versus 2-3 years ago, right?
Right.
I felt like Topeka 2-3 years ago was a very loosely organized city.
Right.
People were like going their own different directions, all that stuff. But after all the past 2-3 years, I felt like the city itself is a lot more coherent.
Well, look at what Go Topeka.
Just because people like you, right? People like you. I mean, I like to give credit where credit is due. Okay. I mean, so people like you promote Topeka in different directions. Go Topeka, city of Topeka, do a lot of PR work to kind of bring all the cool stuff in.
Right.
Because I used to hear this all the time. Hey, there's nothing to do in Topeka, right?
No, that's what I'm saying, man. And then we have stuff and nobody shows up.
Right. A lot of people say that. I'm actually one of those guys. I don't go to KC all the time at all. I go there maybe 2-3 times a year, right? Because I feel like there's more stuff for me to do in Topeka.
Right. Well, you want to support local.
Right.
You live here, you breathe here, your kids go to school here, you know, all of our services are here. Like, we got to take care of our own, man.
Right.
You know, if we want our city to be better, then we need to spend here and we need to participate in the activities that are here.
Absolutely. Well, John, let's talk about your miracle son. Can we do that? I mean, because
yeah,
I see
man.
that little what's his name?
Cooper.
Okay,
so you want to start on the name?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right.
Cooper.
So
I mean, I saw his pictures all the time on Facebook. And let's get started.
Okay. So Cooper. So me and my wife were praying with another couple. And we were praying for them, and we decided that we were going to try to have children.
Okay.
And I didn't know if I was going to be able to have kids or not because of my past drug and alcohol history. So it was like a kind of a big deal, you know. I didn't know if I was going to be able to or not. Now I didn't go to the doctor and get checked or anything like that. I was just worried because I've put some hard years on my body.
Right. I appreciate you sharing that, though. I mean, this is the first time I met John in person, and I thank you for sharing that. So,
of course, brother.
Hopefully, that's inspirational to people that are watching. So, go ahead.
That's the goal, right?
Yeah, that's the goal.
So, we're with another couple, and we're at Hoo Hot, and I love like Hoo Hot's
one of my favorite spots.
Bro, we throw down on some Hoo Hot. So.
We got to go there next.
You need to talk. So I need to find out who the Hoo Hot guy is to get Hoo Hot to sponsor me as much as I eat there.
I'll find out. I'll find out Hoo Hot. Okay. So whoever's watching here, if you have any questions, please let John know or let me know who owns Hoo Hot. I think it's a chain.
I think it is a chain.
It's a chain. So we'll find out. Okay. We'll get you a sponsor.
Well, my favorite is Jong's.
Jong's
Thai Kitchen.
Thai Kitchen. Oh.
Bro, tell me you've been to Jong's.
I've had takeouts, but not like in person. I'm like a takeout.
No, you gotta go. You gotta go in person.
Okay.
They only have like 6 tables. You have to call 2 weeks in advance to get a table.
Really?
But dude, it is the best. And not only that, but like Nim and D and Jong, bro, next level.
Noted. Definitely.
Okay,
so
Cooper.
Yes.
So we're praying with this couple, and we're praying that passes her nursing test, and she'd taken it a few times and she hadn't done well. So like we're really praying hard that she gets it and she's able to pass it. So we have dinner that night. We take him out, we buy him dinner, and we pray. She calls us back like 3 days later. Well, my partner that I worked with at Ernest Spencer Metals, he's like, "You're not going to believe this. She passed her test. We want to take you guys out now."
That's amazing.
So the next week we're back at Hoo Hot with them, and we're eating again and we're praying again. And my friend knew that I talked to him about, like, you know, we're ready to have kids.
Right.
And, you know, I didn't get home until I was almost 27 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd lost some time there.
Yeah.
You know, while I was away.
Yeah. And
you know, I'm 30 years old and I want a kid. You know, I'm ready to have kids.
Right.
And my wife is 5 years younger than me, so she was 20. She'd have been 25 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So we're there, and they pray with us that we're able to conceive. A week later, she takes a pregnancy test, and we find out that she's pregnant.
That's amazing.
A week later.
Glory to God, man.
Glory to God.
That's amazing.
So, man, I spend and I'm doing really well at work. So I started out let me tell you a little bit about Ernest Spencer Metals.
Yeah. I've heard that place, but I don't know much.
Man, if you're working for a company, I don't know that you could find a better possible company to work for that truly cares about its employees, really cares about them, like family care, like family. So let me tell you a little bit about the owner, Neil Spencer. Neil took me under his wing. Like I started out there on the floor. I started out there as a temp employee. I think it was Quick Staff. It was a place right down the road from where I was at that got me on out there.
Oh, I know the owner.
And I started out in D. Burr which is like I'm shaving the sharp metal edges off of parts so that they can go to the next operation, which is weld, break, whatever's going to happen to the parts next before they get assembled into whatever they're going to go as. It's the very first job you get when you go in there. So I started out there, I mean, literally making less than $10 an hour, right? Within a month, I'd gotten like $4 or $5 in raises, and they hired me on full time, and they moved me to the saw department. I worked in the saws there for a while, and then the department manager at the time, Marty McAlexander, who I basically owe he was he was very instrumental in my career, and him and Jeff Wilkerson both in getting me advanced in my career. But these guys believed in me, and like they saw that I was in there and I was in there to work, and like no matter what I do, Chen, like I am 120%. Like I don't half butt anything, man. Like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it well. I made the decision while I was down that I didn't want to be the person that I was when I went in. So I gave my life to Christ right before I went in. And then I surrounded myself with people like, I don't want to name names, but I was away with the guy that did the banking for Poker Stars. And I was away with the guy that had the US Fidelis and embezzled $1 billion. And, I wanted to surround myself with business-minded people because that's what I wanted to get into.
Right.
Now, these guys had made mistakes just like me. They were paying for their mistakes just like me. And they saw a kid that was hungry, that wanted to learn, that was willing to use up some of their free time. So I developed this hunger in there, and I started training for Spartan races, and I started training for an Ironman. That's how I got in shape. But back to Ernest Spencer. So I'm moving around, and I've got this hunger to learn,
right,
and this hunger to develop, and I want to, whatever I'm doing, man, I'm all the way in. So I think I'd been there about 6 months, and I was still working in the saws, but I'd worked in the machine shops a little bit. I'd worked on the brakes a little bit. And on my lunch breaks, instead of eating lunch and wasting my time, I would go back, and the job shop welders would teach me how to weld.
Wow.
Because I was like, you know what, man, I'm not doing anything. I got a half an hour of free time. I'm trying to learn Spanish on my earbuds while I'm working and doing my stuff. So I start going back there, and these guys take me under their wing, and they start showing me how to weld. And I'm like, you know what? This would be a cool job. I want to be a job shop welder. So the job shop builds big one-off projects like, 70,000-pound dryer drums, or big, huge, 20-foot tall, 400 bag houses for clean air filtration for Nucor steel and big steel industry, like big steel mills, crazy big stuff. These guys are like they're the elite. They're the all-stars, right? As far as welding goes.
Right.
So an opportunity came up for a project coordinator in the office. And I got my degree from Emporia State in 2012. I double majored in political science and history.
Okay.
And I didn't want to be a teacher. And then I got addicted to drugs really bad. And then the rest of the story.
Right.
So, but either way, I had a degree, and like having a degree, that helps. It looks good with employers. Like it shows that you have the ability to be taught, right? Which is I'm coachable.
Right. Coachable. That's
I'm a coachable person.
Right.
So, I prayed about it, and both my superiors, both my managers were like really pushing, and they said, man, this kid is like, he wants it, and he's, whatever he does, he's going to be good at. So I moved up to the office, and I got the project coordinator position.
That's amazing.
So now I'm working in an office. So I can't remember how long I was coordinator. I started learning under my first manager on the production side, like the production sales side. And then, and it was basically in preparation to move over to job shop sales. So I did that. And then I got moved up to full-time coordinator. And then within a year after that, I was made the director of my department of job shop project management and estimation. That's amazing. I did that for almost 3 years before I actually just left there. Yeah.
What a career, man.
Small
career.
So Neil, no, it was a huge career, man. I spent a lifetime there, and my family still works there. So, but I've since started a company with 2 business partners, Topeka Auto Glass, and I am pro fighting. I'm focusing on my fighting career and on my own business now.
That's amazing.
Right.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Because I was going to say congratulations on becoming the owner of Autoglass.
Thank you,
because
brother.
I think I saw that like on LinkedIn, right? Just a couple weeks ago or something like that. You posted
out. Have you seen our commercial yet?
I have not.
Check out our commercial.
That's why I'm trying to plug back into it, because I feel like I was out of this community for a long time because all the stuff happened to everybody in the past 2 years, 3 years. So with everything else going on in my business, and I feel like, hey, I kind of lost contact in the most precious thing in my business is interacting with people.
Community. That's right.
Community.
Man. It's relationships.
I want to try to plug into it, like influencers like you, like people are just trying to kind of fight for the community. Right.
Right.
So I just want to say thank you for sharing that story.
Yeah. No, it was back to Cooper. I'm sorry,
Cooper,
man.
Yeah. I was going to say Cooper. So Cooper Miracle, tell me like.
Okay. So we're fast forward, man, for 9 months. I'm reading to this kid while he's in, I'm reading to my wife's stomach. I'm reading Harry Potter. We got through Prisoner of Azkaban, man. I read 3 Harry Potter books like to this kid while he's in there. And like,
that's awesome.
Chin, all I've ever wanted my entire life, man. Like, I didn't know if I was ever going to do anything great. Like I felt something, but like, I knew I was going to be a great dad. Like I wanted, like, since I was a little kid, man, I wanted to be a dad, and like, not just a dad, but like a dad, like my dad. I wanted to be a great dad. I wanted father figures in my life, like Jeff Gray and like my father and like Neil Spencer and these dynamo fathers that are just really they have the Godfather quality,
right?
Like they love you. Now they don't take any crap, and there ain't no weakness. There ain't gonna be no BS with any of them,
right?
Like you're gonna do it, and you're gonna be a man, but if you make a mistake, we're here to help you,
right?
And we're here to show you the right way to do things. That's the kind of dad I wanted to be. But I'm putting headphones on my wife's stomach. Like I love this kid, and we hadn't named him yet. And so this is the deal. I told we couldn't decide on a name. I wanted a John Jr.
What would be a good name, right? Would it be a good
Yeah,
name?
that's what I'm saying. I think it's such a bad name, is it?
No, not at all. John actually is one of my favorite names. But anyways,
I mean, come on, man. The Gospel of John.
John, and John is
Jesus' brother John.
Right before he showed up, actually, I was just thinking about this. Just crazy, like how these things are flowing out, right? Because I was just thinking, John actually is one of the most manly names that I can think of.
I can dig that.
I mean, seriously, because when I was growing up, I want to say growing up in my 20s and stuff, there was this movie by Nicholas Sparks. He wrote a novel, and Dear John was a guy went away.
Yeah, man, the army
went away, army guy,
right? Yeah, was classic.
Channing Tatum.
Yeah, that's right.
He was there. I was like, man, with everything else going on in the movie, but the figure of John, like just the figurative figure of John is just like embedded in my head.
Well, then the song "Big John, Big Bad John." I mean, it's a pretty classic name.
Classic name, yeah. So how did you decide on Cooper? I mean, it just.
So man, so we had a perfect pregnancy, man. She went 40 weeks plus 3 days. We had a checkup on Wednesday before, and like, dude, we like this kid before he's even born. Like, we are attached to him. Like we're attached. Like our souls are attached.
Mm-hmm.
So, we have a scheduled induction. Our doctor isn't working on Friday, so we have a scheduled induction for the following Monday. We're checking in Sunday night to Stormont, and then the next morning we're going to have him. Right. Perfect pregnancy.
Right.
So we go to Fuzzy's Tacos, one of my favorite spots from when we lived on Medford back in the neighborhood before we moved out west.
I remember that place.
And we get done, and we were going to go do something else, and what I want you to realize, Chin, is like my life had heavily become work. I hadn't been staying in the Word. we hadn't had a church, and my excuse was COVID. But like, we just weren't participating, man. We could have gone online. We could have done this. We could have done that. But the truth is I'd made money, and I'd made my career my God. And it didn't happen overnight. Like it happened really slowly. I started as I grew in my job, and as I started getting paid more, like I wanted, I was able to afford better things and do this and that.
Mm-hmm.
And I started losing track of what was important, and that's service to your community and the relationships that you can build.
Yeah.
I don't want to be, I'm a very rich man, very rich in terms of relationships that I have with people.
Right.
And in friends. I'm rich in wonderful friends like Fuad Medlidge. He's my best friend.
Yeah. We're just talking about him.
So we get there Sunday night, man, and we get done early eating, and we were going to go do some other stuff, and we decided not to. So we ended up showing up to the hospital about an hour and a half, 2 hours early.
Okay.
So we get there, and like I'm teasing around with the nurses, like I got my laptop in my book bag so I can knock out some quotes while we're there, because that's what I'm going to be focused on, and make sure that I can answer my emails and keep track of stuff. That way, the next week that I'm off, like I don't come back to a huge mess after having my kid. Nah, man, they got her strapped up so they took Taylor upstairs and they got us in early.
Mhm.
And they started hooking her up to the machines, and they noticed that she was having D cells after every contraction, which means that our baby's heart rate was slowing down or going away after a contraction. And they're like, oh, that's not good.
Oh man.
So they had her flip over on her side, and they're like, we're just going to monitor you for a little bit. You know, you being on your side, we're going to and see if that helps, you know, maybe just a position change. And then we'll make a decision on what we're going to do from there. There's a small chance we may have to have an emergency C-section. Well, it wasn't very long before the doctor came back, and she's like, you know, Dr. Neighbors, Venus Neighbors, she's like, we're going to take him now. We're going to pull him now. I don't
Oh
like
man.
it. And Chin, my heart,
I would imagine.
it falls out. I mean, it fell out of my chest. I've been reading to this kid and playing classic rock on my wife's stomach and singing to him and praying to him and reading the Bible to him for 9 months. 9 months. Three Harry Potter books.
Right.
Like, me and this dude are already homies.
Right.
Right.
And on that day, before all this stuff happened, you were like up here.
Everything
right?
was perfect.
Yeah.
Everything was perfect.
Right.
They used the term perfect pregnancy. Perfect. So they prep her and we go downstairs and I put on this little paper scrub and I am terrified like I've never been terrified.
Right.
Terrified. And we go downstairs and I squeeze my huge body, and I'm like 300 pounds at the time because it's COVID, and my wife was pregnant and we were enjoying her pregnancy.
Right.
Absolutely. So we ate out every meal and ate ice cream every day. And you know, just, we were enjoying it. And I'd retired from fighting. You know, when I started fighting, I just wanted to have one pro fight. And then I was going to say, just to say I did it. So I'd gained all this weight and, you know, I squeeze into this little outfit, this little paper outfit, and I'm too tall and I'm too fat. So my stomach's hanging out the bottom, and you can see my ankles because I'm so tall, you know, I'm tall. So we get downstairs and, you know, I'm standing behind my wife and I'm just praying. I'm praying. And they pull Cooper out, and he's doesn't have a heartbeat and he's not breathing. And he's brown. But they pulled out this huge, beautiful boy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And I mean, he's a monster, dude. He was like 9.5 pounds. He was huge. At 9:49 p.m. on the dot, 11/15/2020, 9:49 p.m. They immediately pull him out and they take him around, and my wife her heart rate, because she's so nervous about our son, like it's getting dangerous, right? And she's losing blood. So like they've got to do something with her, and I'm trying to calm her down, and they end up giving her something to sedate her, to help her slow her heart rate and calm her down.
Right.
And I stay with her and I'm holding her hand, and one of the nurses comes around so they take my son and they take him behind this big curtain. So a nurse came and got me and was like, you need to come with us. So I walked around, and the doctor's got my kid in his hands, and he's got his one hand around the back of his head and his neck and one hand on his chest, and he's doing this to him. And my first thought is like, you know, is he hurting my kid? Like, am I going to rip this guy's arms off right now in front of, like, I'm going to physically kill somebody.
Right.
And the nurse says, we're giving your son CPR. He's dead. And I just start falling apart. You know, we've been reading and singing and praying and reading the Bible to this kid, and he's gone.
Right.
So it took several minutes. I don't know how long, but it took several minutes. And they
and he just kept doing that.
Giving him CPR. And I'm down on my hands and knees, and I'm making deals with God, you know, right then and there, right on the floor in front of God and everybody. And I'm saying, God, I will do anything. I will devote the rest of my life to you. I will serve you the best I possibly can. And I'll never forget, you know, I'll do anything. I'll do anything. Please just let me take my son home. Please. And Chin, I watched Christ raise my son from the dead like Lazarus. I watched a literal biblical miracle happened in front of my eyes. He was dead. He was gone. And the doctor brought him back. They got a heartbeat.
That's incredible.
So they rush him into the NICU, and I go with him, and they take my wife. I can't remember what happened with her, but they had to take care of her from the emergency C-section. So I basically just told her that I was going to the NICU with him, and I didn't know what to tell my wife, but like I was still in my heart, like I thought he was still gonna. I thought he was gonna die. I thought they were gonna bring him back, and then he was just to die again, basically. I was terrified. So they take him to the NICU, and I tell my wife, and she's like, "Is he okay? Is he okay?" And I didn't know what to say, and I couldn't. She's already, her heart's beating out of her chest from anxiety and fear over losing her kid and what's happening. And I was just like, "They're working on him. They're working on him." And she's like, "Okay." So I went with, I followed, another nurse grabbed me, and we went to the NICU, and I'd never seen so many people fit into such a small room. I mean, you're talking about a room about this big,
right,
with machines and monitors and 10 to 12 people in it. And I'm standing outside the window, and my soul is just crumbling, and I am sobbing, and I am just in such bad shape, and everything's touch and go. And they're in there like working on this little beautiful child. And I look over at the nurse standing next to me, and like she can tell I'm praying, and she's praying with me. And I look over at her, and I asked her, I said, "How am I supposed to tell my wife that we're going to go home with an empty car seat? How do you say that to your wife?" And she said she didn't know. She said, "I don't know." And we prayed right there. We prayed right there again. And she's like, "If you need a second, there's a waiting room. There's a parent's NICU room that's got food, and it's got chairs, and there's nobody in there. So if you need a moment to be alone, you can." And she and I went in. Well, so sorry, here's the name. So right before that, they're like, "We need his name." Like they're gonna start putting him on meds, and they need to have a name to write on everything. And their nurse is like, "What's his name?" And I said, "John." And my wife did not want a junior, but my whole plan was I told my wife, when I hold him for the first time, God's going to give me a name. I'm going to name him straight from God to me to him. And then that's going to be his name, which was basically me saying, "I'm going to name my son John," when you can't do anything about it. So she asked me what his name was, and I said, "John." And the nurse goes, "No, not your name. What's his name?" And I was just like, "Oh, Taylor's going to, if this kid survives and I name him John, my wife is going to kill me." And I just said, "Cooper." And that was it.
Wow.
So Cooper. So he's Cooper now, right?
What
Cooper Lee Cantrell.
You're such a great storyteller, because I literally, when you were telling me all this stuff, I feel like I was in the room. I feel like I was there.
Buddy, when your heart, it's not hard to tell it when you're that emotional. Like this was the partner. I've been through some crazy stuff in my life. Crazy, earth-shattering, like drive my car off a bridge. I hate my life so much. Crazy stuff. Like in those positions. Like I hated my life so much through the addiction and through everything else. There is, and you talk to people that have gone through addiction, the pain they've suffered and the pain they've caused other people. It's incredible.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing even comes close to what I did with my kid.
So there was Cooper.
So I'm in the parents' waiting room, man, and I'm still falling apart. And I get down on my hands and knees, and I'm praying again. And I'm just like, "God, please, like, how, what am I going to tell my wife? How am I going to do this?" And something tells me to stand up. Something tells me to walk over to the wall. And I'm over at the wall, and there's all these little notes tacked up to the wall all the way around the whole room. And I started reading the notes. The notes are notes from parents that were in the NICU to their children.
Oh, wow.
And I'm reading the notes, and you look at it, and it says, "Baby, you're in really bad shape right now. we're praying for you. Grandma's praying for you. Grandpa's praying for you. The whole family's praying for you. Like, we're here and we'll never leave your side, and they'll put a date on it. And then you'll see the family a couple of days later, and you're doing better. And then a couple of days later, and then a week or a couple of weeks later, and we're taking you home. We can't believe the progress you've made. Today's the last day in the NICU, and we get to take you home.
That's powerful.
And dude, I'm walking around and I'm reading these, and I just feel God in my heart. I just feel him I just feel his spirit on me saying, and at that moment, I knew he was gonna be all right. But Shin, I got to be honest with you, man, and I'm not proud of it, but for a second, when I was standing there with that gal and I was looking at all the machines and all the people in that room, I can remember thinking, I could walk to a bar less than a mile away, and within an hour I could drink enough to forget that this ever happened. Because I wish that I could not spiritually, emotionally, physically handle the trauma that I was going through. And my initial thought was, I could drink this away right now. I could walk away right now and drink until this went away. I could. And I made that decision. I was like, you know what? And this is God's honest truth. I don't care what condition he's in. I don't care what his life is going to look like. I don't care how hard this is going to be for his mother and I. I don't care. I am going to be the best father to this kid that I can possibly be. And that is the one thing that if I do nothing else in life, that is the one thing that I'm going to do for however long I get to do it. But I'm going to be the best darn father in the world to this kid for however long he's here, even if that's just for a week. Even if that's just until if he doesn't make it till morning, I have got his back, and I've got his support, and I've got his spirit, and I've got everything. And I'm going to be his everything, even if that's just for 24 hours. And I just made that decision, man. And then, when I went into the NICU and I saw those notes, God told me he was going to be all right. And I'm like, you know what? I'm taking this little butthole home.
That's incredible. Man.
I'm going to take him home. I'm going to take this kid home. And I went up and I saw my wife, and I was talking to Taylor, and I was telling her, like, they're working on him, and she could tell that I was in bad shape, but I was still more hopeful, because like I said, I'd made the decision, like, we're taking him home. So I go up there, and this is my wife's first opportunity to go down and see him, and he still hasn't opened his eyes. He hasn't moved. He hasn't done anything. So we go upstairs, we get my wife, we come downstairs, and it's like 4:00 in the morning, and neither one of us have slept. And we get down there, and they're like, we got to tell you, there's some, so they were hoping he wouldn't start, like, they wanted to minimize the amount of damage, right? Because he'd gone without oxygen in the womb for we don't know how long. I'm still not sure exactly what happened, but the placenta had lost its oxygen or gone bad at some point in time between Wednesday and Sunday. So he'd been in there without oxygen, starving for oxygen, suffocating. And, it's an old wives' tale, like, oh, they go quiet when they move down, which is, I think that's actually true. I'm not sure, but apparently when they're getting ready to be birthed, like, and they move down to that area,
right,
they quit moving so much. So we thought, he's not moving as much because, he's ready to be born.
Wow.
Wrong. He lost oxygen. So his heart, his kidneys, his liver, all of his organs were under major trauma. And when we got downstairs, they told us that he started having seizures, hour-long seizures, and he had hour-long seizures every 3 hours. So to preserve any brain and any organs that he had, they put him on what's called hypothermia treatment. So what they do is they cool. He's a head cooling baby. So they put him under like a cold blanket, and they lower his body temperature, because when you reduce the temperature, it slows all the processes down. It slows the metabolism down. It slows everything down. And the idea was they slow everything down. They get medicine in him, and it gives them time to work on him before any more major damage happens. So it's a 72-hour treatment. So that's 3 days. You know, and my poor wife, man, I still don't know how we made it through this. The God is the only explanation. We get done, we get done, you know, and we're praying, and it's hard enough going through something like that, Chin, but when you can't have your family there,
Right.
and you can't have your friends there, like we were all alone, man. It's COVID. No, I've never been a dad before. She's never been a mom before. We couldn't have her mom or my parents there to help us through anything. We're there by ourselves.
On top of that, it's COVID. Okay.
You know, so I did the only thing I could think of to reach out to people, and I made a post on Facebook, and I said, "Hey, my son's dying, you know, and we need prayers." Dude, it went viral. It went international. We had churches in Germany and France praying for our son. Like, it was nuts. And so we're praying, and like the doctors are coming to us and they're saying, we need him to do this, we need this to happen, we need this to happen, and this to happen. And man, like, dude, we had the code talk, which means like basically they come to us and they say, how do you want to say goodbye to your son? Wow. Under like what do you want us, what can we do to revive him? There's a chance that when we try to revive him that we could break all of his ribs through chest compressions. We could crack his chest plate. If he goes, do you want us to do that? At first, the answer was, we don't know. You know, he's already been through enough. You know, I don't want you to hurt him if he's going to die anyways. You know, so and we had that conversation several times in a 5-day period. We had that conversation 5 times with the doctors.
Wow.
So it got to a point where we were just like, we want him to survive, man. Do everything. We're taking this kid home. Do everything. So the doctors tell us what they need. You know, we need him to do this. We need this medicine to work. We need this seizure medicine to work. You know, we need all this stuff to happen. And dude, I'd make lists, and I'd make a post, and thousands and thousands and thousands of people would pray for it. The doctors would come get us later that day and tell us that it happened. And I'm talking about with everything. Everything happened absolutely perfectly for him to survive. They would tell us what they needed. I'd ask him, I'd send out the prayer request. The doctors would tell us the prayer had been answered. We're talking about doctors that are not believers, don't believe in anything, using the word miracle.
That's incredible, man.
So we spent almost a month at Stormont Vale NICU, and we both lived there. We got out, and then he had this like 1 in a billion calcium deficiency disease that almost killed him. We finally got to bring this kid home, and it was my notes on the parent board, you know. And the NICU nurses and the NICU doctors at Stormont are incredible. They're incredible. I would take them over anywhere in the world. I would recommend them. So we get him home, and then he develops this calcium problem, and we ended up having to go to Children's Mercy because they couldn't take care of it very well. They weren't used to it, and they couldn't figure out what it was. But we were terrified because I thought it was some form of cancer or something horrible, because he started getting these big growths on him, these big calcium deposits. So we had to go to Children's Mercy, and they ended up having to do bisphosphonate infusions, which is miserable. It's like a poison that they have to put in your baby, and to reduce the calcium so that it doesn't kill him through his I can't remember. Either way, right. You don't want a calcium build up there, and if it builds up there, it could kill him. So that's actually how I met Fuad. So we were done with Children's Mercy.
So because they couldn't figure it out how to...
No, they figured it out, but
he was only a month old, right?
Right.
At the time.
No, they figured it out. Yeah,
gosh.
He was a month old.
Oh,
he was a month and a couple weeks. But we wanted to come home, and Stormont was our family. We'd gone to battle with them. We'd been through hell with them. The nurses there, the doctors there, those were our family. Those were our people. So Fuad was the doctor that was going to do the infusions for us so that we didn't have to go back to Children's Mercy, because every time we had to go, so we had to go get his calcium levels checked. They check them, they were high, he'd have to go do an infusion. 3-day process. So 3 days in the hospital every time we did it. So we wanted to be closer to home anyways, because living at Children's Mercy in Kansas City that far away from everybody was really tough. So Fuad.
He's a character.
Fuad is a character.
He's a character.
You know, Fuad's probably one of the best human beings I've ever met in my entire life.
Very, very caring person.
Yeah. But he's also stern. You know, he's to the point, like he's got great bedside manner, but at the same time, like, Fuad ain't no punk, bro. Fuad ain't no punk.
I can see that.
Fuad's a man. Like,
I can see that. Yeah.
Like he's gonna, like, he loves you, and he's gonna tell you the truth, and he's gonna tell you what you need to hear.
He's gonna tell you how it is.
Yeah, he's gonna tell you how it is, man.
Right. That's the best way to put it.
And me and my wife had been arguing about like feeding him and everything else, and Fuad's like, dude, I'm this big, huge, scary, angry, scared father. And Fuad's like, John, everything's okay. Chill out. And I'm just like, okay. You know,
actually, he likes to say "chill out" a lot, right?
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah.
I mean, something like that. Yeah.
But basically, he's just like, hey, man, listen, let it go. It's okay. Your wife's right. You're wrong. Chill out, bro. It's all right. And I don't know what about him, but I absolutely, like, I've respected him so much, like, for just that's exactly what I needed right there. And he told it to me exactly how I needed it. And we've been friends ever since.
That's awesome. That was like 2 years ago or a year ago?
That was over 2 years ago. That was 2020.
2020.
It was December. That was January of 2020.
That's incredible.
Right.
And he's doing fine. Cooper is doing great,
bro.
Because I saw some of the progress, because we just became friends. Me and John just became friends like a couple months back. You know, I didn't track his life, but I saw Cooper's pictures here and there and all that stuff. So I'm assuming he's doing much better. Okay, so Cooper they told us Cooper was never going to walk. He was never going to talk. He was going to be completely blind, completely deaf. He lost about 60% of his brain. About 60%. So the doctors,
right,
excuse my language,
right,
came out, just said that stuff to you guys?
We're talking to the doctors, and doctors give you worst case scenarios.
Yeah. They always
but they're telling us, like, there's a very, like, we don't know what it's going to look like. We don't know what his life's going to look like, but based on his brain damage, this is what you could expect. Right? Never walk, never talk, completely blind, completely deaf, severe cerebral palsy. Like, basically whatever time you have with your kid is going to be really hard for him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No.
But he's walking.
Yeah. Cooper decided that he wasn't going to hear any of that.
It's amazing.
And man, we got to celebrate his first steps.
First cake, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw that cake.
Yeah, man. We've got to celebrate. His favorite band is Whiskey Myers. His favorite song is John Wayne, and he loves dancing and singing. Wayne. Dude, he loves John Wayne by Whiskey Myers. But hold on a second, I gotta have one.
This is awesome.
I got a million. Oh, you know what? I got tons of pictures. I'll show you pictures. But
what a privilege you guys are watching this video, honestly, because I didn't have any intention, any agenda before John showed up.
So
play that in front of the video.
Well,
I don't
it's too dark, man. So this kid loves being outside more than anything, and he just walks around outside and hits my motorcycle because he wants to be on it. So he's partially deaf. You know, he has to wear hearing aids, and he's got glasses that he has to wear to correct his vision. But this is him walking around at a basketball game. My little superstar, and he is, man. He's a superhero.
That's amazing.
But yeah, man, he is the coolest kid in the world.
You know, John, since we just got to know each other.
There he is. You saw it for a second, but
I never knew any of that stuff you just shared with us, that he went through all that.
Yeah, crazy.
As a 2-year-old kid or
right.
2-year-old human being.
Right.
And he was able to withstand all that stuff. And then he came on top.
Talk about a fighter.
He came on top.
Talk about never quitting.
Yeah.
Never giving up.
Right.
Fighting, coming back from behind.
That's living proof. Right.
So
back to that, John. So I have to say, behind every successful man, there is a successful woman.
Oh man.
I don't want to leave this character out of the story, right?
No, this is the
It's not like her name is Taylor.
outside of God, man, she's the most important character in the story.
So how you guys met? I mean, tell us a little bit more about your wife, your spouse.
So
You're a significant other, right? Significant other.
So the whole time I was down, I prayed for God to put a good woman in my life. You know, because I'd made some drastic changes in my life. I knew who I wanted to be now, and I knew what I didn't want in a relationship, and I knew what I wanted in a relationship. So my parents come and pick me up at Federal Correctional Institute in Forest City, Arkansas. I'd completed the drug program. I got a year off my sentence for completing it. It was a year of inpatient in prison drug rehab, and then you got a year off your sentence, and you got guaranteed 6 months halfway house. So I'm getting out 18 months early. And I prayed I was like, God, if I'm not ready to go, if you're not done teaching me and you got more that you need me to learn before I go back, like I'll stay until I figure it out. So if I'm gonna go, I want it with your blessing. So I pray the whole time I'm down. I've changed all these things about myself, and I've changed my attitude, and I've changed my outlook on life, but I wanted to have healthy relationships, and I'd been through a string of really, really unhealthy relationships. And mostly because of me,
Mm-hmm.
So, but I knew what I knew. I didn't know who, but I knew kind of what that looked like, or what I had in mind. So, my parents come and pick me up in Forest City, Arkansas. And they drive me back to 25th in California to the Federal Halfway House at Mirror Inc. I get out of the car and I shake my wife's hand.
Say that again.
I get out of my parents'
they're
car.
Dropping you off.
They come and pick me up in Forest City, Arkansas. They drive me all the way back from Arkansas with my dog Pumpkin. And like we stop and get food because I haven't had anything to eat. And I get all this stuff that I haven't had for a while. My dad brings me a piece of filet mignon and these big jumbo shrimp, they come and pick me up, and I'm riding back with them, and I got my dog with me, and this is my first day out, and but I'm still under BOP custody.
Okay.
I'm going to the halfway house.
Okay.
I get out of my parents' car at 25th in California from Arkansas. I step out of the car and I shake my wife's hand. She's doing her internship there, her senior year at Washburn, as a drug counselor.
So she was there to open the door, and then she was the very first.
She did my intake. Right. She was there to literally meet me as I got there.
That's incredible.
Right. So
Wow.
she had zero interest in me, Chen. Zero interest in me at all. But I can remember telling my dad, I'm like, I'm gonna marry her someday. Like right, real early on, like within the first week of being there, I was like, I'm gonna marry her someday. And my dad was like, no, you're not, dude. She's way out of your league. He's like, let's worry about getting you a job. and then,
Yeah.
But he's like, she's way out of your league. There's no way. So I get out of, I'm always kind. I'm always polite. And I can remember telling her one day, I'm like, Miss Taylor, if I maybe when I'm out of here sometime, maybe you could introduce me to somebody that's like you, like one of your friends, because I'd like to meet someone that's like you. But I was always just really kind and polite and courteous, and I was a gentleman, right?
Right.
But I had my friend Trey, I didn't know if that was going to work or not, but I knew what if I wanted to plant a good seed there. So fast forward, I'm out of the halfway house. I'm off probation, or not off probation, but I'm out of federal BOP custody. I reach out to her on Facebook, and I'm like, hey, or no, she reaches out to me on Messenger, and she says, hey, Cantrell, what's up, man? Just wanted to check in and see how you were doing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm doing great. I'm working. I got a good job. Everything's going really well. Sorry, Chen.
No, you're good.
Everything's going really well. We should hang out sometime. And it was, I can't remember what it was, but either way, she reached
out first.
Right. Yeah, she did. Chen. She reached out first, bro.
And while you were thinking of reaching out to her.
Yes,
right?
correct.
Wow.
Right. So we ended up having a date, and dude, that was it. We had one date, and I was like, I want to have a relationship with you, and I've wanted to have a relationship with you for a long time. And you probably think I'm crazy, and this probably sounds nuts, but that's where I'm at.
Rest is history.
The
Right.
rest, I mean, we've been married 5 years.
Right.
It'll be 6 years in September.
That's an incredible story, man.
Right. And this, I mean, Chen, she is the smartest, kindest, most caring, loving, supportive person you've ever met. I mean, I am. We joke about it all the time, but there's actually a lot of truth to it. You know, Taylor says you're the mouth, and I'm the brain of our unit, right? Or you're the fighter, you're the face, and I'm the, you know, she's the director. She makes sure that I'm you know, I'm in physical, mental, emotional, and spiritually good shape all the time. And that's really hard to do. You know, I suffer from mental health issues. I have chronic depression, and I'm bipolar, and I have severe attention deficit disorder, and I don't take medicine. You know, I refuse to take amphetamines. You know, I take Prozac for my depression, but like I won't take amphetamines because of my past. So I basically put all that on structure and exercise, and then just, you know, organization, because that's what makes my mind okay to do what I need to do. But yeah, man, Taylor runs the show. Taylor, I couldn't do anything I do without her. She man, she's incredible. And she's brilliant. I mean, you're talking about a girl that graduated top of her class with 2 degrees in 4 years from Washburn. And you know, she's got big dreams. And when you know, she's agreed to lease me this time to do to have my boxing dreams, and to see what I can do there. And then it's going to be her turn. You know, she may want to go to law school. You know, she's a big advocate for child advocacy. She worked at Lifehouse. She works for the Department of Corrections now in the sentencing department. And you know, she makes sure that when she sentences people, to get them close to their families. You know, because she understands, I've been there. You know, she's got a heart like that. You know, she's big into criminal justice reformation. You know, she agrees with me that drug and substance abuse shouldn't be dealt with through a penal system. It's not a penal problem. Mental health is not a problem for the jail system or the prison system. It's a mental health problem. You should be sending people with mental health issues to places that will help with mental health. And we treat addiction and drugs here as a criminal problem instead of a mental health problem. And if we could somehow figure out that dynamic shift in our society, we wouldn't have these kids dying of heroin every day.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to get on my soapbox. But my wife has a huge heart. She inspires me every single day. She is the world's best mother. I could praise my wife all day long, but she is, outside of God, she is the most important, precious, invaluable person in my life.
That's incredible, John. I'm speechless, John. Just for you sharing all that stuff with us. I mean, this has just been a great honor. Like, John, you just came on the show and just shared all this stuff. And I'm after you walk away from this show today, your story, the stuff you shared, is going to inspire a lot of people. And as a Topeka native, the stuff you had to go through, actually, you went through all this stuff with the city behind you now.
Oh yeah, yeah.
All the stuff you're doing now, every opportunity you have, you share the stories with people, young kids. Maybe a young kid was just going through something that you had to go through. The story you just shared might be just able to pick that person up right there on the spot.
Chin, when they see me and they hear me, I hope that they forget me and they see Christ. I just want to be a reflection of him and what he's done for me. Because that's all it is. I was dead before. The first time I was ever free in my life was when I walked behind the federal prison walls. That was the first time I was ever free, was when I walked behind the wall. Behind the wall, not out of it, behind it. only Christ can provide that kind of true freedom.
Mm-hmm.
When they see me, that's what I want them to see.
And he carries you through all the miracles.
And he's carrying me through them now. Chin, what are the Chin? I'm 33 years old. You know, I've actually been boxing for like learning real boxing for a year and a half. I'm 6-0 undefeated Kansas heavyweight champion.
Tell us a little bit more about that. Tell us a little bit more about that. How you got back into boxing? Okay, because that's something I wanted to learn.
Okay,
that's how I got to know you about, because I was like, John was this boxer. Let me fix this camera real quick to include both of us here.
Yeah,
we're good.
Yeah,
we're good, John.
Yeah.
So you're this person showed up on social media, right? This big pro boxer. I was like, man, he's, I probably can, have a street fight with him sometime.
For sure.
No, just kidding.
Oh, no, you'd be great, man. You'd be great.
I'll be knocked out like one punch. I'll be knocked out one punch. I'm no fighter by any means. So you just showed up. I think I went to Stormont Event Center to watch that show. I think you were the last or the second to last to fight.
I was the main event.
Okay.
Me and Mario, the champ,
okay.
man.
The champ.
Me and the champ.
So I watched. I mean, I didn't know who you were because I was not plugged into the community. I was there on the spot. It's just one of those times where people think nothing is happening,
right? Because
they didn't, like you initially talk about, they didn't intentionally chose to plug themselves into the event,
right?
So there he was. John was there fighting. I didn't know who he was, and then he blew up on social media. I was like, well, there's like a 20-30 friend, mutual friends between us. So I reached out. It's because I saw Fuad's shirt. He was wearing the shirt that was given by John. I'm gonna send this video to him.
Yeah.
Anyways. 6-0, undefeated.
6-0, undefeated, man.
How did you get back into it?
Everybody was telling me what my son wasn't going to be able to do. And I never wanted him to have. I knew someday. I never wanted my son to see quitting as an option, because it's not. No matter how hard it is, no matter how tough it is, no matter how hard you got to push to get through it, no matter how big the obstacles are in front of you, like, you have it in you to conquer your destiny and become who God meant you to be. You have it in you to do that. And I had these dreams of fighting on a big stage. I wanted all I really wanted. And I told my coach this, I told Damon this. I said, I just want to fight at Madison Square Garden one time.
Just like Reyes did.
Right. Just give me the MSG. Just give me the MSG and just let me do it once. I just want to say I did it. Kind of like how I just, like with the pro fighting, I went 10-1 as an amateur. I was a heavyweight. I was the local heavyweight.
How long ago was that, by the way? How long ago was that?
That would have been in 2019.
Okay.
But I had very little amateur fights. I had a great coach. Daniel Brown was a great coach. And we did well, man. I won every fight. When Danny became my coach, I won every fight with him. Like, Danny was a great coach. So I beat the guy. So I got choked out in my first amateur MMA fight. And then I won my next 3 or 4 fights in a row. And I got to fight Kirby Blanky, who was the current champion. And I knocked him out in the first round. So I avenged my one loss as an amateur.
Dang.
Right. So I went pro in boxing and I fought Colton Hill, who is a absolute monster.
I've heard that name.
Oh yeah, dude, Colton's incredible, man. Pro MMA. We made our pro boxing debut against each other. And that was a brutal fight. And I was big, and this dude is just crazy jacked, crazy athletic, and he's a psycho, man. You hit him as hard as you can, and he just smiles and keeps coming. So I ended up, man, me and Colton, that was the only time I've ever made it to the last round of the fight. Colton and I went to the 4th round, and in the middle of the 4th round, he switched his stance, and I kept missing him with the same shot because he was rowing under it, and then he'd come up and hook me. And I learned something that day. Sometimes you don't aim where they're at. Sometimes you aim where they're going to be. And dude, I threw that hook. He did his row, and he was turning to step back in. And I threw as hard as I possibly could, the hardest right hand I had, right where I thought he was going to row. And I connected, and he went down, and he's trying to get back up. Cause like, dude, Colton,
he was not quitting.
He's no quitter, bro.
He was not quitting.
And
Wow.
he couldn't get up, man. He couldn't get up. So I won my first professional boxing fight. And then it was I think it was right after that. I had my first pro MMA fight and Junction City on the Never Surrender card. And that was a first round knockout as well. So I had two, I'm 1-0 MMA and 1-0 boxing as a professional. And that's good enough for me. I'm hanging it up. I want to be a dad. I don't want to do the dad thing, and I want to coach sports. And that's what I'm going to devote my energy to now. So fast forward, my kid goes through all this stuff. Right.
Right.
And I wanted him. I knew someday he's going to ask me if he's able to, and he will, because trust me, he gobbles all the time now. And he's learning some words. We got mom and dad and Nana and banana, and we're getting some words down.
He's ready for some real conversations with you.
Right, man. Right. He's so close. So but I was like, someday he's gonna ask me, he's like, Dad, if you really would have done boxing, like if you really would have put everything you had into it, like what could you have accomplished? What could you have done? Like how far could you have gone? And I thought about that, and I'm like, let's find out. Let's find out. So I'm in the gym one day training, and Danny had gotten busy with life with his kids, and he'd gotten busy with other things. So I'm kind of coached. I'm not coachless, like, because Shannon Woodward's is like my MMA coach, and I'd go upstairs to MCA and train with his guys and spar with them. But as far as boxing went, like I didn't really have a coach at the time. And Damon came in, and he was down there, and he'd started doing a class at Great Life on Van Buren for adults, like an exercise class, boxing exercise. So Damon sees me, and I'm in there working. And if you know anything about Damon, if he sees you use bad form, you're going to get it. So I'd met Damon before, and I knew him, but when he'd seen me before, like I didn't have the experiences. I didn't have the heart or the drive or the passion that I had after what I'd just gone through with my wife and my son, So he must have seen something different in me, because Damon only works with champions. He only works with champions. If you look at anybody that's in our group, Skeeto, Deshaun Prather, champion, top 40 middleweights in the United States. Danielle Bennett, #1 female boxer in the United States for her weight class.
Wow.
#1 NABF champion. She's #1. She's ranked in the world, man, in the top 40 in the world. Ronell, dude, and I'm going to forget a lot of people, but all the Kansas City people and the kids that we got going at my new boxing program downtown, the nonprofit that I'm starting with John Smith. Dude, that's championship level. Like Damon's fought for world champions. He fought for a world championship. He fought Herbie Hyde he fought Deontay Wilder. Like the guy's, he's been there, he's done it. He's had 70 some odd pro fights.
Wow.
He's done it. He knows what it looks like. And I told him my story, and he fell in love with my family and with my son. And, and he saw that I was a coachable person, and that I was a good listener, and that I will die before I quit. And he took me under his wing, and we went on a crazy streak. We went 5-0 last year with 5 knockouts, and we're 1-0 this year with a knockout, another 55-second first round knockout.
Is the one you just had?
The one I just had. 55 or 56 seconds in the first round.
And John is on my fridge. for a reason. For a reason, This is incredible.
And man, this is my biggest fight, man. Brandon Carmack is a monster. He's a Missouri champ. He's 5-1. We got real similar records. But he's a lot bigger than me. He's 6'3", 6'4". He's probably got 30, 40, 50 pounds on me. But he's got an incredible story of his own, man. Brandon's an incredible guy. I'm honored to be in the ring with him. His brother, Richard Carmack, was a huge fighter. His brother was one of my heroes, man. Richard has the biggest hands you've ever seen in your entire life. And I watched him do the first ever bare knuckle fight in Kansas. The night that I won my MMA amateur championship, he won the first ever bare knuckle fight in Kansas.
Oh my goodness.
Professional bare knuckle. And I can remember watching this guy, and he looks like a gorilla. And he was probably 275, 280, 290, maybe 300 pounds. And he's just got these huge hands. but he moves like a butterfly in the ring. And you see him bounce, and the whole ring shakes when this guy jumps up and down. But he just moves so smooth, and he's got this jab, this lightning fast jab. And I'm like, man, dude, like, how can I ever fight somebody like this? Like, this guy would kill me. And now I'm fighting his little brother who's just as big as he is. But Brandon comes from a boxing family. He's been boxing 18 years. He's got a good amateur background. I'm excited. I'm excited to be stepping into the ring with somebody at that level.
John, before you showed up here, actually I have this question to ask you. And this is going to be the last question I'm going to ask you about.
Yeah.
How do you overcome any fear or any doubt before you step into the ring? Like, you just described that opponent to me, right? Like, if this guy was in front of me, I mean, I'll be like, hey, you know what? We're good. Right? That's, as a human being, average person, I would have think of that.
Right.
Like, hey, we're good. I think,
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, high five.
High five.
Yeah,
we're good.
Thumb wrestle this out.
We're good to go. The thing, we're just joking before we started, recording all this stuff, because I recently started doing judo.
Right.
It took me 5 months. Every single weekend I would go to the dojo. Now I feel like a little bit more comfortable getting thrown. Right. Getting thrown, just like standing up.
You learn how to fall. Right.
I mean, I learned how to fall when I first started, right? But I never felt comfortable like getting thrown.
Right.
Just there's this big fear between me and the mat.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So, John, what do you do to overcome that fear?
So Caleb Rogers, mental sensei. It's been a lot. It's been a large learning experience for me, because, and it's not even the fight, man. I'll fight anybody. But when you're walking out in front of thousands of people, and those lights are on you, and the cameras are on you, and everybody that you know and love is watching, and I'm out here repping my city. I'm repping Topeka, Kansas. I'm repping the state of Kansas. I'm repping the Midwest. I'm putting the Kansas title on the line against Missouri. And I don't know if you're aware of this or not, but Kansas and Missouri have a fairly decent rival.
I realize that.
Right.
Yes.
Right. And I love K-State, but I'm a true blue KU fan. I bleed red and blue, Rock Chalk Jayhawk. I grew up with, especially my dad, me and my dad, we have a lot of fun, but the Kansas Missouri rivalry is a big deal. So, this isn't about me, Chin. This is so much more than me, and that's what I've come to learn is it's not just me, it's everybody that's watching me, and everybody that's following me, and everybody behind me. And myself and my mentors and my pastors, we pray. And you'll see me walking around before the fight with a huge smile on my face, just calm and chill. It's a hurricane on the outside, like Dominique Alexander says. And Dominique and Devontae Jones just picked up a huge win on the road on the East Coast against an undefeated fighter. Devontae is 2-0 now, got a first round knockout. And like, people think Midwest boxing is a joke. They look at us and they're like, those guys from Kansas, they're nothing. Like, we're bringing them in as opponents to get our guys wins. Devontae shows up down there and knocks this dude's block off on the East Coast, where boxing is the thing. Right.
Yeah. That's where it kind of started, right?
Shout out to pugilism on the East Coast is huge. So shout out to but Dominique says it's a hurricane on the outside, but like the eye of the storm, man, it's calm in the middle. It's calm on the heart. So like, everything's going on around me, man, and I am in constant direct contact with God. Protect me, protect my opponent, help us to put on a good show. Just let us both go home safe, and everything will be fine. And that's what I pray with every single one of my opponents before we fight. Every single one. And I'm such good friends with everybody I've ever fought, because it's not about hurting the other person. It's about competing. It's about the competition. It's about the love of the sport. It's not, I don't want to hurt. If I ever actually hurt anybody, it'd probably be the last thing I did. But so far, God has been gracious, and like, I'm winning, but I get to shake hands and have fun and hug it out with my opponent after the fight.
Right.
Because that's what matters. It's the competition. So it's terrifying. You're walking to that ring and all those people are moving and yelling and clapping and saying your name, and you're thinking about all the people and all the kids. And I fight for charity, man. I fight for those that fight for others. I fight for Tark. I fight for Team Blake. 10% of all my ticket sales is going to Team Blake. Adeline is one of the recipients of Team Blake. She's walking with me to the ring, and she's 5 months away from being done with chemotherapy, man. She's beating cancer.
That's huge.
But
that's huge.
I'm using my platform to talk about God's grace in my life and to talk about children's charities, because I'm a 2030 member, and everything that goes along with local children's charities. So I have a huge heart for that. But dude, that's a lot to carry with you into the ring, because I'm fighting for all these people and I'm fighting for everybody.
Yeah, I was thinking, it was like, man, that's other people, like average person, like for me, like I would view all of that stuff as added distress, right? That would just crush me.
Oh, it's terrifying.
That would crush me. But at the same time, you found your inner peace to come on top.
Right. And man, like I said, dude, walking to that ring, it's scary. It's scary. Dude, as soon as I walk through those ropes, as soon as I'm underneath those ropes and I'm in that ring, nobody can touch me. I'm unbeatable.
That's
I'm
incredible.
Undefeatable.
That's incredible.
Like I've already gone through it in my mind. I know how I'm going to move. I know how I'm going to stay calm. I know how I'm going to control my breathing. I know how I'm going to use my defense. I know what I'm going to do if I get in trouble. That's what your coaches prepare you for. That's what Craig Cummins, that's what John Smith, that's what Damon Reed, that's what they teach you how to do. The training and going through all the different stuff in judo, none of that means a lick once you get hit. Unless you've done it a million times, unless you've achieved mastery.
Right.
Now I'm 33 years old and I've known how to box for a year and a half. And look at the level I'm fighting at. It's because I work. I'm 3 a days. My coaches push me to the brink every day. I have to break through a new barrier every single day. So that when I get hit, when I get tired, when anything happens, I can go into autopilot and my body knows what to do. Once I step into that ring, man, I don't see it. I can't hear anything except for my coach's voice. I don't hear the crowd. I can't see anything. It's me, my job. I'm clocking into work. This is my job. I'm a professional fighter. It's time to go to work. It's time to clock in and it's time to go to work. I got a job to do. My job is to take care of my family. His job is to take care of his family. The winner gets to take care of their family a little bit better than the other one does.
John, this is incredible. I've watched some boxing movies, right? What you've just told me, I'm so surprised that nobody has picked up as a movie yet. No, I'm not trying to flatter you in any shape or form, right? Because I remember watching this movie. Who was it in it? Southpaw? Was that?
Oh yeah, great. Jake Gyllenhaal, yeah.
You should be next.
Man,
the story I'm just talking about like here. I mean, I hope this platform could reach out to as many people who would have interest. Because there's some crazy movie makers here in town. I mean, Topeka, a lot of people don't know Topeka. It might think it's just a random city on the map. But there's a lot of stuff going on here.
Amen.
I just have a local hero right here sitting across the desk from me.
Chin, I'm just John Cantrell, man.
No, John Cantrell, maybe that's John Cantrell to you, but it's like, definitely not the stuff you had to go through and you overcame.
I didn't though.
I mean, with his grace.
Christ through me. Amen.
Right. God, helped you go through all that stuff.
Right.
But you had to physically carry that weight, right? Like I remember Jesus had to carry the cross.
All I had to do, man, listen, Chin, it was this easy. All I had to do was accept the free gift and let him work through me. He's trying to work through us all, but we stop him. We don't want to, because we want to be the directors. We want to control our own lives.
Right.
I didn't. My best ideas took me to federal prison. The best I could possibly do with my ideas led me through addiction and near suicide and almost, into prison. That's what my best ideas got me. But once I got out of my own way and let him work through me, look at my life now. But I don't deserve any of it. I don't deserve any of it.
This is incredible. John, thank you so much for your time. I'm gonna end this video here. And this is great.
Part 2?
Yeah. Part 2, part 3, part 4. Whenever you want to come on the show, it's all yours, man. This is amazing. I'm gonna follow that fight. And when John was showing up at my office, I just showed him the picture on my fridge.
Hey, well, I got you guys. Guys, I really am making a go at this pro boxing thing. If you're interested in sponsoring me, please reach out to myself, to Damon, to Chen.
I'll post this information in the description of this video. So if you guys want to reach out directly to John, and then his coaches and his organization for sponsorship,
because I want to see what I can do, man, and I can't do it without the sponsors that I have. Shout out to Central National Bank and Ernest Spencer Metals and Brandon Best with Best Trucking and Corey and Waltz and the other team members at CarStar and Topeka Auto Glass. Rachel Holhouse, the Hope dealer. I don't know if you're familiar with her.
Yeah. I know her. Yeah.
She's a huge inspiration to me, and we do a lot of work together. And she's a sponsor of mine. Tark, Team Blake, Jerry Hudgens at Soul Reason. He's putting sneakers on. He's delivering sneakers to kids all over the city. Like, guys, if you've got a heart for charity and for helping other people and for doing the Lord's work, and you feel like helping a soul like myself achieve his dream of really, I want a green belt. I want a WBC. I want a green belt, man. And I've got a line to get there. And as you can see what I'm using my platform for, man, anything helps. And anybody that would be interested in sponsoring me and helping me get there, I would be eternally grateful.
Thank you so much, John.
Thanks, Shin.
Thank you.